This is a Hope 1032 podcast.
Hi, I'm Heidi Wiseman. You're listening to Hopeful Reflections with Heidi, where I reflect on biblical principles to anchor you deeper in hope. I pray this message will encourage and inspire you. I've always found it fascinating that before Joshua and the Israelites ever crossed the Jordan River, while the waters were still raging and spilling over their banks, God had already spoken the promise. He says, "Every place that the sole of your foot will tread upon, I have given to you," just as I promised to Moses in Joshua chapter 1, verse 3. Did you notice that? Not will give, have given. The promise was settled before the step was ever taken. And yet the people still had to move forward. They still had to step forward. They still had to step toward the river before they could experience the promise for themselves. Sometimes I think our lives can feel a little like that too. We might be standing at the edge of something unknown, a new season, a new chapter, and the waters in front of us might even look a little overwhelming. But God often speaks his promises before we take the step, and then gently invites us to move forward in faith, because that's the thing with God's promises. They always invite participation, and not just participation, but trust. The land was already theirs, but they still had to walk it out. They still had to place their feet on unfamiliar ground. They still had to move forward while the waters were high. Joshua chapter 3 tells us the Israelites camped at the edge of the Jordan during flood season. The river wasn't calm. It wasn't convenient. It wasn't safe by human standards. We read now the Jordan overflows all its banks throughout the time of harvest in Joshua 3 verse 15. And yet God said, "Go." The priests carrying the Ark of the Covenant stepped into the water first, not after the river stopped, not once the conditions improved. They stepped in first, and only then did the waters stop flowing upstream, allowing the entire nation to cross on dry land. Phenomenal. What strikes me is this: the miracle didn't precede obedience, it followed it. Ecclesiastes reminds us, "He who observes the wind will not sow, and he who regards the clouds will not reap." That's chapter 11, verse 4. If we wait for perfect conditions, we will wait forever. Faith rarely asks us to leap. It invites us to step by step, foot by foot, promise by promise. Israel didn't receive the land all at once. They possessed it little by little as they grew stronger, more confident, more dependent on God. And there's something deeply reassuring about that. God isn't rushing you. He's forming you. Your faithfulness today enlarges your tomorrow. Perhaps God is gently whispering to you right now, stop living in the small patch you gave yourself. Step into the full measure of what I spoke over you. The territory he has promised you may look intimidating. The waters may still be high, but his presence goes before you and his word remains sure. And just as John the Baptist prepared the way for Christ, our surrendered hearts prepare the way for him to move again in and through us. May we be a people who don't merely admire the promise from a distance, but who dare to walk it out. Together, let's trust God enough to place our feet where he has already declared victory. Have a great week walking with him. Bye. Thank you for listening to Hopeful Reflections with Heidi. I'd love you to subscribe to Hopeful Reflections with Heidi on your favourite podcasting app so you can get more faith-filled and inspiring messages of hope. Also, I'd love you to check out my website, hopewithheidi.com, for the video version of this podcast and other hope-filled content.